welcome to the Last Looks podcast team.
Thank you.
Sorry. Congratulations. Congratulations on your Oscar nomination for your work on the film The Ugly Stepsister. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, really.
Yeah. And the work being considered is makeup and hair for the overall film. Now, if you could each tell us your name and what your position on the film was.
My name is Thomas Foldberg, and I am the prosthetic makeup designer for the film and has been responsible for both the look on Elvira and also all the other makeup effects in the film.
Amazing.
And my name is Anne-Catherine Sauerberg, and I have been responsible for all the hair and makeup in the film as a designer and making the characters in that part of it. Yeah.
Amazing. So I would love to know, when you heard the news that you had been nominated, what was the first thought that came to mind?
Hard to believe. It was really hard to believe because we thought it was so amazing that people noticed this kind of small film and that it got shortlisted was just so big. And then you get the shortlist and you're like, whoa, it's crazy. And then you kind of, it could be fun to get nominated. And that happened. So it was like mind blowing. But I was quite sure that because like the category is so strong, there's so many talented people. And we met them at this bake-off and it was also really nice people. And so it was an amazing club to kind of become a member of for that day. And then, so it was just, I didn't see that coming, and I'm so pleased.
That's exciting. And how did you find out?
I was in the car from base camp to location, and Elisa, who was Thomas' assistant during the filming of The Ugly Stepsister, was sitting next to me, and she said, "I'm going to stream it." And I was, "No, you're not." I don't want to do it. But then we saw it and it was like, wow. And then we came to set and it's the same Polish film company. So that was like big happiness from everyone.
Amazing.
Yeah, and mine was so it was very undramatic in many ways because I honestly I didn't think that we would go that far. So I couldn't, my nervous system couldn't handle to stream it. So I was actually in a meeting and I was sitting there talking, and then I got a text from Anne-Catherine just with 3 hearts, and I thought, okay, that probably meant like thanks for the ride, it was fun while it lasted, and that was it. And then the phone just exploded in my pocket while at this meeting. So, and then apparently, I got it that way. So I was in a way totally out of everything, a shame in a way, but also nice. So that was it. And then just mails and messages and phone calls just kept coming in. So it was actually, that part was really nice that so many people actually knew it right away. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Huge surprise.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise, and I mean, we're so proud that it has happened. It's fantastic. I mean, recognized for something that I guess that we have worked hard for. But it was big just being shortlisted. So this is obviously very big. Yeah,
it's amazing, and I can understand how just having 3 hearts come through on the text message could go either way.
Exactly.
Comforting.
No, but as AC said, that it was. I mean, it was so nice to be at the Bake Off as well, because it was just really, really a nice experience, because kind of like we are all competitors, but everybody had also gone really far, so it felt very natural and very nice to kind of join that club. It was really fantastic. So
it felt very little competitive. It felt very like loving somehow. So that was big.
I'm really glad to hear that. That is really awesome. I like it. So if you guys could talk us through 3 characters from research and development through to daily application.
I think Thomas should start, and I think we should talk about Elvira because Thomas joined the movie before me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that because the interesting part is that Elvira is almost three characters in one. So so I
Mm,
think that we'll just talk most about her and touch a few of the other ones because they're related so much to Elvira as well. But as a starting point, I mean, when I read the script first, it was very clear that Elvira, of course, was a huge part of the film, and her transformation from start to finish was really big, and a lot would be needed, much more than the actual makeup effects in the rest of the movie. So that was very clear, and then of course getting into knowing how she was going to look and all of that, it took a lot of conversations with director Emilie Blichfeld. I will add that I was contacted way before shooting started. I think I was one of the first that was contacted because Emily was so into the whole makeup effects part and the Elvira's look. So she was like, this one is almost built around some kind of makeup effects prosthetic works, which is, I don't know how many who have tried that, but I haven't tried that before, that a director or a production called you on that background. So
mm,
it was that was a kind of an interesting start. And then when I had the first meeting with Amelia, it was very, very clear that she was extremely prepared, and she had tons of references. She had tons of reference from arts and of course films as well. Sorry, but also a lot of real life references. She had a lot of ideas already. So there was a lot of talking about how are we going to approach this, and especially Elvira, because the thing was, of course, to make a person that was both likable and changed a lot through the film, but also doing a
mm,
character that was not mocking anyone or making fun of. I mean, all these things were up in the air. So it took a few tries before we got there. I did a test first that was not completely off, but it was certainly not that direction where she was more realistically in a choppy way, which was just
mm,
wrong. And then we had talks about this and that, and also because the film, of course, is a fairy tale, but it also has this. As we'll get into later with some of the talk about the effects, it's kind of borderline between realism and kind of a stylized world, you could say, graphically. So we ended up with this look on Elvira that's very much of a, yeah, it's kind of like she's definitely a figure, and she's a character in the beginning. She is all the way through,
mm,
but that look on her was, yeah, it was not that complicated, but it took some while to get there. So we ended up giving her cheeks, and she has a nose, and she has a little bit of a double chin, and then she has like a neck piece that starts from the middle of the neck and covers her collarbones, because she's kind of like very buff in as a person, as the, yeah, the actor Leah is actually a dancer, or dancing to body theater. So yeah, so
mm,
that was what we ended with. And yeah, and then that was also complicated, but I mean, yeah, it was a long talk. And then and Catherine came in much late, not much later, but quite later, and did some wonderful ideas with the hair. So it was, everything was kind of flipped a bit around, because I'm used to getting into a project when makeup is at least establishing some stuff. Or so it was the other way around. So we kind of did a canvas for AC to work on almost.
mm,
And then we had the braces. That was a very clear thing from the beginning. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's the first one third of the film, or a little more, that she looks like that, and then she gradually, then she loses weight and also becomes older, because it's also kind of a rejuvenation makeup at the beginning of the film, where she seems younger, she seems more innocent, and she seems more like a goofy teenager, with this open positive face. And yeah, and then she goes into the next stage from that, which is more or less herself, but with now added eyelashes, and
mm,
her nose is her own, and all of that. It goes into the whole ball. That's kind of the peak where she's all nice and glamorous, and then the whole the root of her character, where she starts losing her hair, and she ends up breaking her nose and a tooth, and then we go into the ending. but those stages, of course, the beauty stage was AC's table, and then the last was, it was not as complicated. It just had to be, it was almost giving itself, because we knew her so well what was going on, and yeah. So that's what yeah. And
That's awesome.
what do you have?
I wonder how much of this was actually written in the script, like descriptive wise, with how she looked.
Some of it was, but not that much. I mean, it was clear that it was in that direction, but it was that there wasn't written that much. So a lot came from Emily's visions and talks and her feelings towards the character, and yeah. But it really was one of those films where because she was so, Emily didn't maybe have the answer right away, but it was very clear that as soon as you just fed her with a tiny bit, then she knew, okay, now we go this way, now we go that way, now we go. I mean, so we really got a lot from her all the time. I mean, the guesswork was pretty fast taken out of it, because then she knew what was wrong, and it was also when I did the first makeup, she knew quite immediately what was wrong, and she was also completely right. That was the other thing. So yeah, so that was it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And how much time did you kind of have for testing and things like that?
It went on longer, the prep time with meeting and stuff, but I think in actual time I had about 3 months of prep for everything, which was quite good. Then there was Christmas and New Year and all that stuff in between that also complicates stuff a bit, but it was something like that. So, but we did it. I think, yeah, it wasn't the first thing that we had to go to, because there was other stuff that was so complicated that we had to start with in preparation, because it was simply bigger and more advanced stuff. So I think we did the first test in December sometimes, and then we had to, and then it was redone during January, and they we did the last test maybe 3 weeks before shooting. So it was something like that, yeah. So.
Do you want to touch on what those things were that were more complicated?
Yeah, basically it was because it was first I had done it quite traditionally with the cheeks everything being quite big and a full neck, which is of course more difficult in some ways, but also easier because you don't have that many edges around, and she's young and all of that. And it was very clear that we couldn't do that, because Emily hated that the neck was being thicker in this part of in the top part of the neck. So she wanted that part thin, giving her more like, not a pinhead look, but like a more having a little round head, and then a neck that wasn't that chubby. But then she wanted the softer body. And I mean, those things were just so complicated. And also I wanted the edges for the cheek sitting in a place that wasn't that normal as well, simply because of movement, and because I think that we couldn't change too much of her features. I mean, I wouldn't really want to have a chin on her, because it altered too much of her face that we were going to see without makeup later, and it had to be the same person. So there was a lot of back and forth about placing those things, and I still feel it was a little bold to put them in those places, because it was, having a neck piece stopping in the middle of a neck on a 22-year-old was of course like a really then you're asking for trouble. And then with a very fast pace on the shooting days and a very short shooting period, I mean, it was shot for 5 weeks, that was it. So wow. It's pretty easy to say that it must have been a little hectic, and it was, but that part that was the complicated part. I mean, like that, and then we had to do the pieces very soft, because the movement was really essential, and I knew that it was going to be shot very unforgiving. The wonderful DP Marcel Shushkin was in the first meeting. He said that, yeah, but all close-ups will be big close-ups. They will be from chest and up. And I mean, in the film, it's from the chin to the forehead shots. And I mean, that was that was not planned. It was just him rolling away. So we had there was some long days. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just being on set and seeing how close that is, you're like, what?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
happens
yeah,
all the
and
time in
and
Scandinavia. That happens all the time. They promise you one thing and then, whoa, one eye.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit.
But hang on, it's a beautiful shot. It's beautiful. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and but on top of everything, I just have to say that the reason that stuff worked and the character I think works really good was really because of Lea Mjørn, who plays Elvira, and she was just so good at wearing makeup. I mean, she was sitting there and literally every day on the whole production, she had like minimum 145 and then 2 and 2.5 hours, and sometimes 3 and 4 for the bigger makeups. We had this where she wears some arm pieces as well. It wasn't that many days, but she does it because we need to see her with a bare arms, and that simply to soften her look. So it was really really big makeups, and she just took it all, and she was still acting like on fire. I mean, that was something. Yeah. And now, Aces, what do you want to say? Because I feel like
No,
Yeah.
I love listening to
Oh,
you.
sorry.
It's good. It's good.
No,
don't-
it's fine. Yeah, don't be shy. Well, I have a completely different story because Emilia had done, and I think in this case very wisely, she chose to spend all the money on costume and special effect makeup, and then there was some. I was called when they called me. They said, "Yeah, there's no money for wigs, so we're not going to be having any wigs." And I, I thought,
Like,
you're doing a
okay.
fairy tale. You can't like send people with their own hair. So I started a battle. I went into war against or something, how to
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
And I have, and to be fair to my colleagues, because it's because I have worked for many years, so I have quite a lot of things in my studio. So I have a lot of hair pieces, and I just done 3 years of a series that was in the 60s. So I had quite a lot of hair, and then I also found this trick that if I go to the Afro shops, I can buy quite cheap wigs and then dyeing them and cutting them in pieces and sewing them together. So everything is like when we were asked to show it at the museum, and I thought, oh my God, these things are not beautiful on the inside. It's supposed to just work for what it is.
But that's all
But
part of our craft. Like, you have to do what you've got to do to get
exactly.
it
So the
looking.
ringlets is made from completely blonde weft that I tried to match up with Leah's own hair color. Took quite a long time. And the yellow wig, the wiggy wig is also sewn together from a lot of different hair pieces because I wanted it to be a lot of her character. I wanted to be very relatable, and when she has her hair down, it's like super important for me that you don't think it's a wig and that you think it's a wig at the ball. You know it's a wig at the ball. So to find this place between pretty and still a little bit cartoonish without being. I like to complicate things a little bit. That is a trademark. So we're doing a film with no wigs. No, we're not. We're gonna make it work somehow. And I can only praise Emilia as well to say that I came in fairly late, but she had done so big research and she was so clear about what she wanted. And it just so happens that a lot of the things she liked was things I knew. She had some erotic Polish movies that I didn't know, but there were some of the universes in which I'm extremely comfortable. And I love to start off doing something I call a jam session, where I take the actor and then I try all different colors of hair on them, because I do look at research pictures and I do watch research movies, but I have it's somehow for me about to get into this. What is this movie? What does this movie want? And then I think of all kinds of things, but I don't particularly look at it. I just I just like have it in my head. And so we were so much on the same track when we did this jam session. The very first looks we did at her is actually the way it looks in the movie. I mean, we did really bad mock-ups with strange flowers I just had on my table and all kinds of things, but we kind of hit it quite fast, and that's a lucky strike because it's not always like that. It's not always that you could be sure that you have kind of the same taste as the director, but we just hit it off really well, and that meant that once we had the main characters going, then the rest of, because there's quite a lot of characters in the movie, then it was very clear to me which direction, and oh god, I just add some extra curls here and this. So everybody has something added, except for the prince. Everybody else has a little thing added to elevate them a little bit. And going back to Elvira, I can say the same as Thomas. It was extremely important for me that she was really a teenage girl, and really a relatable teenage girl. So we gave her a little bit of gold eyeshadow as a little nod to the Sephora kids, and I mean, yeah, and then the ringlets was also. Emilia had some pictures, and we talked a lot about that it should be worms, and I think ringlets can be extremely difficult when you work on location because they kind of like just falls out. But we just had, it was made quite simple with weft that I just saw on a piece of material, and then we always had an extra pair, so we could always, when the weather got too wet, we could just put new ones on, and then one from the team would go back and curl them, so we could keep on changing those, so they didn't suddenly go very long. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like made super cheap, and I wanted this, you know, like, I don't know if your mom ever did pigtails on you, but like mom's doing hair a little bit too tight. I wanted this feeling that it wasn't particularly a hairdo that she had decided herself. But the ringlets are great clear because when she gets excited, they are like super bouncy, and so it also has a reference to the worm. We thought that's maybe overthinking, but we thought, yeah, let's give her a wormy. And then moving on to when she has the nose cut off, that's of course Thomas removing the prosthetic nose. And then the lashes, when we spent some time trying to do a nice lash design, so that it was, of course, I mean, everything that's done to Elvira has happened in real life. Emilia did a lot of research on this and the beauty procedures, and we didn't want to like insult or make fun out of anyone, but we wanted to point at things, how women treat themselves, and we didn't want to make this like almost mono lash that a lot of people have now. That I think it kind of closes the eyes very much, and we didn't want to point at anybody specific, so we wanted to kind of make our own lash look. And I've seen it other places after, but it was, of course, coming from a lot of the 60s, but this very spidery, very open. And not connected with an eyeliner, that we wanted this standalone lashes. And then once we found the lashes, and there we had a reference, we were super much into early 70s Cher with the very, very shiny mother of pearlish eyeshadows, and then the very open eyes. And we thought that would be a wonderful look. And then we kind of did it in colors that you don't normally do, like the green and yellow is not a period. So it's like all kinds of periods mixed together because we had to find a pretty in this universe, a fashion in this universe. So at the ball, which is Leah's character number 2, I think, at the ball where all the young girls has this lashes because that's fashion in the kingdom. At that particular time, and that was kind of fun to. And I'm just gonna touch another character here because the eye makeup, we thought the mother's character, should be different because she had been young in another period. And it was like me and Emily just looked at each other and said, we're going to do a 90s smoky eye, yeah. Because that seemed like another fashion than the young girls that are being presented at the ball. So like taking a young girl who's just at the cusp of womanhood and making her into a woman is like two completely different characters with the same actress. And of course, Thomas was very much the first, and I'm very much the ball girl. And then the ball girl falling apart is Thomas. So I'll go back to you. If you have Elvira, the third person.
Yeah, and I will also I can add that because you said that with the ringlets that you could change when they got tired during the day, which was very very clever.
All the
But
time.
we had the same, but we have had the same with this because Elvira is wearing this little double chin, and because that we didn't want to cover the top part of her neck, there was only a small like 5 by 3 centimeters big prosthetic that I had done. Like a transfer mold, a silicone transfer, but not a PTM transfer, but a silicone transfer, so that we could change it, because I knew that it would be worn out during a lot of days because she had a lot of high collars and stiff fabrics and stuff. So we could actually change that within 5 minutes and have a new chin on. So that was also because we knew that this will also be problematic to have a piece there going on, and then on top. There was a lot of touching on the pieces. There's both Elvira touching her own face a lot, really pulling the cheeks. And when she's at this Dr. Esthétique to have her nose done, then he also is pulling her cheeks. And in the dance lessons, this dance teacher is pulling her double chin as well. So we also had a lot of touching of the prosthetic pieces, as well as the nose clamp is tied around the cheeks as well. And I mean, I like that stuff is happening on top of the pieces, because it's kind of like makes it even more real that we have all these things that are rubbing and pushing and pulling. But it also made it quite difficult. So I was glad that we did this small double chin piece as a easy to change piece. Yeah. So, but as you said, going back to the last part of Elvira, where she started to lose her hair, it was, compared to the first stage, much more simple, because we did a classic ball cap on her with a silicone forehead. We also had a silicone neck piece, but it was never really used because it would be obsolete to use it. So she has a ball cap and a silicone forehead. And then we had a wig in several pieces. And also here, Emilia was very specific about the look, because she didn't want it to be thinning out as she didn't want it to look like the classic maybe horror way where it's thinning out and becoming very see-through. She wanted these chunks of hair falling off, so you had like these weird bald patches, which is also is a little strange, but it's also kind of fun because it chips into this stylized reality, I think. But she was very specific, and also this was it was like a challenge to kind of get that look as if she wanted it. Yeah. So because it was a little new to me. Yeah.
And she also wore contact lenses. At the end of the movie.
Forgot.
Yeah.
Yes, from when she starts to lose her hair, actually, she has some contacts that covers the white part just to the same kind of value as the skin tone, and they are a little yellowish, but they are also almost like her skin color. And that's basically it, just to make her look weirdly sick. And then for the ball scenes, we had removed the contacts to make her all fresh and kind of brand new. And then she has them in for the last part of the movie as well, after the ball show. Yeah, that was it. And then dentures for the broken tooth, and a nose prosthetic when she breaks her nose. So she wasn't free of anything. She just, it kept coming.
And it was something every day, something all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. And just constantly working with the AD department with the scheduling of like, this is the look this day, this is the look that day. And I guess your getting ready times changed as well, right? Like every time you're doing something different.
I mean, continuity-wise, it was really a nightmare because we were jumping back and forth, not like from the stage 1 to stage, what would you call it? There's actually, I think it's 8 stages if you count them all. So we didn't go from one big to another one in a day, but we did a lot of different, then mainly then she has no nose clamp, but braces, no braces, but nose clamp, stuff like that. And it was like constantly. So I had to print out like with big letters that I had on my phone taped outside, and as well as the makeup trailer for me and my assistant, so that we could just see from scene 1 to 4. We need the nose clamp from 4, just so you were completely sure. And I think that we actually managed to do it with the help of the scripter. He did a wonderful job as well, because it was really like you had to hold on tight with these parts. Yeah.
Also
Yeah.
because
It was a lot.
her changes kind of, there is some stages where now she's fully young Elvira, now she's fully bold Elvira, but there's also a lot of like in between us going from
Yeah.
one to the other, and that's kind of the interesting parts as well.
Yeah.
So she
I
kind of
think-
like emerges into different characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always I don't know if you guys find it the same way, but when at the beginning, when you're trying to work out that whole story arc and work out all the different looks through that time that you have, and of course you're not shooting it in order, so you don't know until you actually see the film whether that is going to work. So that must have been great to finally see it and go like, oh my goodness, okay, it all really tied together
Yeah.
really nicely, and it's flowed. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
The-
had
the-
to do
the
a
good
kind
part-
of childlike drawing of, okay, this is a lot of looks, so now I'm going to make them very clear. So I had this drawing of she looks like this, she looks like that, she looks like that, and I wasn't really scared that it was going to work actually. It's probably
No, and
a
it could
terrible thought. But
yeah, and I had the same, which is probably also terrible, but yeah.
straight
But
to
I think
hell.
that the good part here was that the changes the major changes were so big. So I mean, there wasn't any chance that she could like take a scene and move it down to the beginning. Also story wise, it was pretty clear that it wasn't one of those movies. I mean, if everything had been set in the more or less same location within the same 4 hours, then we could, we could have a lot of problems. But it was very clear that, okay, obviously we can't go take from the middle and put it down in the front, because it will ruin the story, and you can't,
But
because she looks
she
very
did.
different.
She did do that because she had a dream, and every time I see the film, I think, well, why did she take that and cut it in there? She has a blue look, where she has a blue
Oh yeah,
dress,
yeah.
and she has the wig, and it hasn't been introduced yet, and it kind of
Yeah.
annoys me every time. But I understand the pictures are really pretty, and you'd like to have a dream scene there. But every time
Yeah.
I think, oh, the audience don't know she has.
Yeah.
So she did actually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's a dream, so no.
Yeah, it's a dream. So she was dreaming exactly how that guy came with good look. Well,
yeah, it was a premonition. She knew it was.
yeah. She was
Yeah.
actually psychic, a psychic.
That's
Olivia, yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks guys for sharing that. That's amazing. So each year the nominated films showcase such a wonderful range of work. How do you feel your work differs from your fellow nominees?
Yeah,
That's-
they're really good. They're very different, the movies, I think. They're extremely different. And everybody has done some, and even also in the shortlist, everybody has done some extraordinary work. So it's like our movies, like I think it kind of rubs off on the movie that it's a director with a very clear vision, that it was so lucky that our crew and the costume, and we were completely on the same track all the time. So our movie is like a very intense, dense, little tight knit situation, that it's like an almost condensed movie. There's so much happening all the time, so you don't really dwell on things for a very long time. and I think it has some kind of necessity feeling. It's not like big, there is beautiful landscapes and there is horseback riding and there's this thing, but there's some of Elvira's spirit in the movie. I think this little angry movie somehow. I don't know how to
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but that kind of differs, and I think you can feel it. I think you can feel the way we work so intense. I know you always work intense, and I know people put in hours and hours, but it was really teeth clenched and where I want to have it like this. And I kind of feel you can feel it in the movie, the energy of Elvira. I know it's
Yeah,
very fluffy and
and
not very makeup-y, but that's the
No.
best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the budget has definitely been very different from all the other wonderful projects here. But otherwise, I just think that not that it's different from the other films, but from my own perspective, I mean, it has been nice to do. For me, it was nice to do a film with so much of my work, and then being very very concerned about that it didn't was going to be like a makeup movie in that sense. I mean, I was really really trying to be totally in sync with Emilia to make makeup effects and that part of work to support the movie as much as possible, and uh, yeah, in that way, and then attributing to this whole kind of like tight knitted little thing or stew or what you would call it. I don't know if that's different from the other films, but from my perspective, I really feel that doing something that just feels like the whole package with stuff locked together that's to me very nice, and I'm very happy about that because yeah.
I think I think it's also very much for me. It's always that's the same. It's also going to sound cliched, but this one just sticks out in that way. Is you really want to tell this story? You really want to tell this story about women and cosmetic surgery and what we do to ourselves with beauty standards and you really wanted to do it and you really wanted to help. And I know everybody does that, but the story was also a very, very big thing because we were touching material that everybody knows. And on purpose, I didn't watch any Cinderella movies. I didn't look at anything. It was just like my childhood pictures of the Grimm's etchings in the fairy tale books and what I remembered from different things. I was trying to like. That also sounds very, but I was kind of trying to dive into some kind of collective memory of Cinderella.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love hearing that. So, what did you find to be your biggest challenge during filming? I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of challenges, but what's one that really stood out?
No wigs. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, it's like my budget was, and this is not like because it's not to say that it's cool that you have no money because it really isn't. But my budget was less than what a wig cost to make.
Right.
And so it was like really a big challenge, but it also kind of triggered my inner insanity about, watch me, I'm going to make this work. So that was my biggest challenge. But I think that Thomas had much more technical challenges. I just had some dyeing hair. All hair is white, so that has been dyed in, and that was kind of challenging to hit some somewhat normal colors. But I think the big technical challenges must be with Thomas.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot because first of all, we had because of all the makeup effects that are kind of not that many of. Actually, we have the whole eyelash stitching scene and the toe cuttings, and then the vomiting of the worms in the end. But they were so kind of like we were around them many times to figure out how actually to do them, and those three are like a mashup of VFX and makeup effects. So it's mainly the eyelash stitching and the vomiting of the worms. They are kind of like part fake heads and part actors, so stitched together digitally, but no CGI, but a comp. that took a lot of time and a lot of storyboarding and a lot of meetings how to do them. And not that was challenging, but of course, while you have to build all the other stuff, and then we had the usual thing with some actors that wasn't available and all of that, and I mean, that was a challenge, and a wig maker that went away when we needed and came back, and all of that stuff to kind of making all the ends meet, because even we had good time in the beginning, but it always piles up, and then suddenly we didn't actually have good time. So we had the wonderful wig maker was sitting in the evening in Poland and doing the last parts of the bald look at night, and she was so helpful to do that, simply because we couldn't really lock the looks in until the very last minute. So those things were, of course, but they are always complicated in the prep time, I guess. And then making it all work with my little crew. I mean, I have had 4 people in the studio, and then some people doing a bodysuit. We also did the bodysuit that she wears under her clothes as well. And we had all the tapeworm stuff. We did like, I don't know how many meters of tapeworms as well. And so there were so many things. And then there was a penis, and then there was like eggs, then all the small eggs, and a lot of tests and a lot of meetings, photos about these eggs with something in them, and we did all of that as well. The pressing of the pimple on her nose, and so much stuff, the braces and that.
And you also got the dad
challenge.
really late. The dead dad, you got
exactly.
The actor came on really, really late.
Really late. So the 3 dummies of the dead dad was done in like 3 weeks, basically, just after Christmas, before shooting. So that all of that was challenging, but the most challenging part was definitely the shoot. I mean, in 5 weeks of shooting, and in my department we were like on the good days 2, and on the tough days 1. So it was myself doing it, and then with my assistant on this, Elisa Berghausen from Poland, and we did with everything for the effect shots, and then I had a puppeteer some days for the where we had some dummy stuff and blood, but it was just challenging and very long days. I mean, and then the continuity thrown in for Messia. So
of course, of course.
I didn't say anything was easy, actually. No, sorry.
No. Why would it be?
No.
So, I mean, you always get to the end of a job, and sometimes it's nice to kind of think back and wonder what you might have learned, something new from each experience. So was there a standout lesson learned, do you think, through this? It sounds like lots of things, but what's one thing you really took away from it?
To me, there was, not that how can I explain it best? Yeah, I mean, Emilia had a really clear vision about the movie, and she had a very clear vision about, especially these the gore effects or makeup effects that are not that gory but gross. But the thing that she wanted it to be not realistic, and she kept saying that she wanted it to look bad in a good way. It had to look a little camp. That was okay. She wanted the toe to be cut with like a straight line, like a marzipan foot or something, and all of those things were so scary for me to do. And I must say that a few months after the shoot, I was still thinking, what have we done? Because I really I didn't like how it was and how it looked. She liked it. She was happy. And then when I saw the first edit, everything kind of fell in place, and I could say, oh yeah, okay, she was actually right. And not that I kind of tried to persuade her into something else, because I was really both supporting and trying to do what she wanted, but it was really, really difficult. So I will not say that I learned to trust the director, because I always do, but there was something about, letting go of my ego design-wise that was very interesting to do, but also scary. And I think if she hadn't been that particular about her vision, I don't think I would have done it. But you've felt in good hands constantly with her, so it was easy to kind of follow. But that was probably the most dramatic thing I've tried ever. To do something that I was so much in doubt when we did it, and I had like, oh man, this is strange. So, but I'm glad, and I think it suits the film that those effects are very stylized and not super realistic, because it would also have been maybe I don't know, a little strange.
Yeah. I can really appreciate that. I've been in that same position, and it is, it's an interesting struggle, and it's a constant, like, I want to be okay with this, but there's something that is going against my normal way of thought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you keep on thinking that, okay, I do my best, it's kind of good, but I don't like it maybe. And what if the director is wrong? And I felt like, okay, I will end up like the biggest fool ever doing these things. I really thought so. I had so many sleepless nights. The nights were very short, I mean, on the shoot. But I had the few hours I got Easter, I had several nights laying awake just thinking about it, thinking about those feet, those toes. I could just see it. But
Yeah. I remember when I experienced it myself, I kept going back to the director and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to keep asking questions. I'm just getting like these jerk reactions to what you're saying, and I need to just talk it through with you. And he was always just like, yeah, that's fine. I know it's a different, way of doing stuff. I understand. And I was just like, okay, good. But yeah, what about you, Anne Catherine?
Yeah, I'm thinking I don't have anything like I found out that when I like the script and I get the vision, I will stop at nothing, and so I don't have anything particularly technical because my part of the work is very much like down my alley somehow. But I learned that it does wonders for my energy and my enthusiasm about a movie that it has a mission, that it has something that feels important. Then there's like nothing that can stop you going on and on and sitting all night doing things. And I really I learned I really want to work with Emilia again. And and but I think I also found out a lot about my taste, but then I've just done another 1940s movie where we did like no makeup, as in not covering anything up, and making, and it was the 40s, and it was like we kind of made everything very realistic and super like low key. And before I would have said, yeah, but something like the Ugly Stepsister, that's just my taste. But then I make a new one, and then it's just like this. I want to make every movie. So I think I got this out of it, that I can do anything. You just have to convince me that the vision is clear.
Yeah.
And I think Emilia was really that. But sometimes you also work with directors who's not so clear in what they want, as Emilia was, and that's usually also doable if you just like open up to it. But on this film, I was more like a working machine. It was like I had a very clear vision, and I was just trying to get it ready. So
that's awesome. So your passion was just sparked, and you were
exactly.
Like,
and it's and after a long career, it's like so nice to feel, oh, that is actually it actually matters what I'm doing, and not just being on any show. Of course, I could go in all kinds of directions, because I tend to fall in love with everything I do. I can always find an angle into it, but you just do that extra thing if it's something that makes sense to you, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as we all know, it takes a team. So did you want to take a moment to give a shout out to those that helped you on the project? And I know it wasn't a big team, so.
But super big shout out to Yosha and Marta and Ada, who was on this film. Of course, without them, we couldn't have done it.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I will just say that first of all, I have to, mention Peter Hjort, the VFX supervisor, who I've been lucky to work with quite a few times now, and I've learned so much from working with him, what's possible, what's not possible, how to actually approach these things. So we had a very close collaboration on this one. So he's of course really important, and then to my little crew in Denmark with Elin and Ida and Ellen. that was in my shop, and then we have the wig maker Jorun, who did the wonderful hair pieces. She's from Norway, but I work a lot with her as well. So that was the very little. Then we have Karin, who did the bodysuit, which was also like a major part of the whole look that I always tend to forget that we also actually did. So, but that was really cool. And then my invaluable on-set assistant, who did this amazing job, also in both keeping me up mentally, but also like taking care of a lot of continuity. I mean, without Elisa on set, it would have been almost impossible, because she was literally keeping track of everything and, taking pictures constantly, and like, yeah. So that was good. And then to the puppeteer and my SFX assistant Thomas on set as well. So that was that's it. But it's a big shout out to all of those, because it was like, it was hectic.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yay.
And intense.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, guys. Well, a massive congratulations again, and enjoy the ride. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.